the 11th of July 2022. The record contains more than 60,000 pages. So, and transcripts of the evidence from about 25 witnesses, as well as their statements, and it also includes 11,000 pages of material which was placed before the independent panel by Ms. Mazong, the MP who lodged the complaint. Naturally, Chane attorneys first needed to understand all that had already taken place before they could properly instruct counsel what to do. One does not need to be a lawyer to understand this. Whether one is dealing with doctors or a building, there is no professional who just continue with an unfinished project without first getting an understanding what the project is all about. Otherwise, they would be guaranteed to both the medical procedure and that structure failing dismally. So it is this simple fact of life which the committee and its chairperson are rejecting, especially the committee, I would say, members of the ANC, the DA, FF+, ACDP, because they are in fact even to some extent the good party, because they are the ones who are saying we should continue, and the Al-Jamaa. So Chane attorneys need to be given an opportunity to understand the case, and the committee is refusing. What makes it worse is that it was the chairperson himself who proposed sensibly that Chane must request the assistance of counsel who are familiar with the matter to assist in the familiarization exercise. So no sooner did Chane embrace that proposal, some time mid-June, then the same chairperson rejected his own proposal. That is completely irrational behavior. Until today, Mr. Janchi has never explained why he changed or somersaulted on that particular asked him what caused the turnabout. In the midst of all this, I was informed by my husband around mid-May actually, that while I was on the stand toward the end of March, he was approached by one of the committee members, which I think people forget that the late Ms. Gina Jumat Peterson was the committee member who was soliciting a bribe of around 200,000 per person for herself, the chairperson of the committee, and the chief whip of the ANC, Ms. Kelly Majodina. I immediately advised him to report the matter to the police, which he did. The case is now being investigated by the Hawks. Mr. Skosana gave all the relevant evidence to the police, including WhatsApp exchanges, which I think most of you have seen. They are not some hacking or whatever, but it's what has been extracted from his phone by the police, their communication with Gina Jumat Peterson, and the recordings, which I had a media briefing. I shared those recordings of their meeting at Ocean Basket Restaurant or Tambo Airport. Since then, I have also given to the South African media the same WhatsApp messages and the recordings in which the late Ms. Jumat Peterson can be heard clearly stating that both Mr. Janji and Ms. Majodini were very, very angry because they were not appointed as members in the cabinet reshuffle, as Minister Singhi's cabinet reshuffle, which took place early March. She also said that she had personally spoken to Mr. Janji and that he was prepared to throw the case if I paid the bribe. She showed Mr. Skosana written notes indicating that a new plan had been hacked or hashed to disallow me from continuing with my oral evidence, but to give the remainder of my evidence in writing. This is unheard of because all other witnesses have been afforded an opportunity to give their testimony orally. Again, no member of the media has even questioned why I must be treated differently from the 24 other witnesses. What is most puzzling is that I am now expected to appear before the very same chairperson who is specifically named in the recordings as the solicitor of the bribe from me and my husband. I have lodged an application for the recusal of Mr. Janji. This is after he failed and refused to recuse himself voluntarily, even given these serious allegations against him and an ongoing investigation by the Hawks, the Ethics Committee in Parliament, and the police who are conducting, or the magistrate who will be conducting an inquest into the mysterious death of Miss Dina Jumat Peterson. I want to ask any one of you what you would do if you were appearing in court before a panel of judges and one of them called your wife or husband to solicit a bribe on behalf of the presiding judge. Would you continue to appear before the same panel of judges, checked by the main culprit, or would you demand to be tried by a fair panel? I think the answer is obvious. Yes, this is exactly the madness which I'm expected to sit and be dealt with. So I must accept to be tried by a person who is a suspect in a serious criminal investigation by the Hawks, another serious investigation for breaching his oath of office by Parliament, and you would know that the Ethics Committee indicated that all of them who are serving in the Ethics Committee, they were told they can't sit, they should be removed from that committee when this matter is deliberated on. Even a suspect in circumstances, and the country must just pretend that nothing out of the ordinary has happened. It must be business as usual. When he was asked by me and various other political parties to recuse himself, especially by the EFF, UDM, and ATM, Mr. Janji brushed these issues aside, stating that he was not prepared to respond to hearsay. Obviously, Mr. Janji does not know the meaning of hearsay, or that it only applies to civil and criminal court proceedings. He also does not understand that the hearsay rule is a general rule with 7 statutory exceptions. Anyone invoking the rule needs to show that none of the exceptions apply in a particular situation. However, in order to indulge Mr. Janji, I asked Mr. Skosana to agree to give direct evidence to the committee in respect of his own interaction with Ms. Jumat Peterson. We have therefore offered in the recusal application to call Mr. Skosana to verify the information, the WhatsApp messages and the recordings before the committee. So far, Mr. Janji has refused to indicate if there will be any open and public presentation of the application, as was always the case with all previous DAC, whether Mr. Janji will finally concede that I do not have legal representation until my attorneys feel professionally comfortable to brief counsel on the merits of the charges. And Mr. Janji will recuse himself because of the serious allegations, or even allow me an opportunity to present my application orally and publicly, so that members of the public can also hear for themselves. So the indications are that Parliament and the Speaker are allowing Mr. Janji to break the law in both of the above-mentioned respects. He has so far been allowed to ignore both issues and to carry on as if the issues are not there. For a committee which is duty-bound to follow the Constitution and the rules of the National Assembly, which prescribes fairness, the attitude of the chairperson, the committee, and Parliament as a whole is plainly illegal and cannot be rationally defended. As you know, I played the recordings to the media, but remarkably, since that day, not a single media house has played the recordings so that the public can judge for themselves. To give you a taste, I will distribute transcripts of some of the recordings so that you can judge for yourself. The actual audio recordings have been sent to the National Press Club, and anyone can request a copy. The only thing which can make the public officials to act with such brazen impunity is the knowledge that they cannot be held accountable by the legislature or even the judiciary. Only those who are above the law can conduct themselves in this fashion. Unfortunately, it has been my distinct experience that seeking the protection of the courts by somebody like me
is indeed a futile exercise. Just this year alone, the courts have simply refused to give me the protection I need and deserve as a citizen of this country. In March this year, I took a case for the recusal of Mr. Janji and Mr. Mailham, who is married to the complainant, in the inquiry to court. The full court miraculously found that the challenge was premature and should only be brought at the end of the inquiry. This is plainly wrong, meaning when you are being beaten in a certain relationship, or as a wife who's abused, which just stay there until such time possibly you die, and that's when the case can be brought to court. Fortunately, the court granted the application for leave to appeal, and the matter will now go to the Supreme Court of Appeal. In May 2023, I also brought an application before the Constitutional Court on the basis that by denying me the right to legal representation, Parliament was in breach of the Constitutional Court judgment, which ordered that I was entitled to full legal representation by counsel of my choice. The Constitutional Court found that it did not have the exclusive jurisdiction to rule on a case involving the contempt of the Concord order. I mean, it was relating to their own court order, but then they refused to entertain it. That is the exact opposite of what that court said in the case of the former President Zuma's contempt of Concord order. That takes us to the third example, which is last week's judgment, in which the Constitutional Court reversed the decision of the Western Cape High Court, which found correctly that my current suspension from office came about illegally because the president who suspended me was suffering from a disqualifying conflict of interest. The day before he suspended me, it had come to the public that he needed to answer the 31 questions which I sent to him. And following a complaint which was lodged by the ATM in the president's involvement in the Phala saga, the fact that the suspension took place a day before even the court judgment to determine the legality of the suspension also did not seem to bother the court. At the heart of this judgment is the finding that the Western Cape High Court made a mistake in finding that the suspension was in violation of Section 96(2)(b) of the Constitution, which compels the President to avoid placing himself in any situation which involved the risk of a conflict with his official responsibilities and between his private official responsibilities and his private interests. It is remarkable that within the space of 1 week, that section has been applied in favor of the President, firstly by the Deputy Power Protector and now by the Constitutional Court. Notably, in the Gata judgment, the Constitutional Court unanimously stated that the potential conflict lies here. On the one hand, the President has the duty to ensure that state resources are used only for the advancement of state interest. On the other hand, there is a real risk of him closing an eye to possible wastage if he is likely to derive personal benefit from indifference. So to find oneself on the wrong side of Section 96, all that needs to be proven is a risk. It does not need to even materialize. So some will say no, but it was his private money, but as well exposing himself to that conflict of interest. That's another issue. Let me read it out again. In fact, that's what I've read. The Constitutional Court has never said that this analysis of Section 96 is no longer good enough. Therefore, the court is duty-bound to apply it as it is. So is the Deputy Power Protector. So the only question which many commentators have asked in the past 2 weeks is this. Given what we now know about what the President on his own admission did or knew about the hidden dollars at his Phala farm, and also how he reacted to the 31 questions, can it be said that in both situations there was not even a single risk of conflict of interest between his official responsibilities and his private interest? That is the only question every South African citizen has to ask himself or herself and provide an honest answer. If the answer you came to is that there was no risk of conflict, then we must celebrate our constitutional democracy and the protection it provides. But if your answer, like most reasonable people and legal experts, is that there is indeed such a risk in respect of either the suspension of the public protector or the failure to report the theft or the following of the money to Namibia or the alleged torture of those involved, then we must now know this, that we are in deep trouble than any other stage of our history. Not even an absolute monarch can be so immune from the law to the extent of our degeneration. So for now, I will also deal with the successes which I had as the public protector in that particular office. There's an article I've been sharing where I was sharing what the public protector has achieved in numbers, and that was compiled by the office when I was still in the office up to February 2022. It was reflecting only 2 clean audits, but since my suspension in June last year, already for that financial year, we've achieved another clean audit. And I need to indicate that clean audit is a collective way with the team under my leadership. And it's not only the clean audit, but it was also going with an improved performance. So out of the 60,900 complaints we've received until then, 58,000 we've helped its direct impact to the members of the public on how we help them. So the cases which were set aside whilst I was still in the office, and out of the 412 reports which we've issued by then, only 17 were set aside, and only 9 were defended successfully. So I think for anyone must just check for themselves whether with that kind of a performance, was I being incompetent. I'm facing the inquiry now just for 4 matters which the courts have set aside, and the very same courts who are also subjected to the Constitution, who should act independently without fear or favor. The same courts on some of the matters, even the Constitutional Court matter of the South African Reserve Bank, where I was even clobbered with personal costs, punished with personal costs, and punished by some advocate, Hoffman, who was the complainant, who opened a case of perjury against me. I'm appearing in court as a criminal because of doing my work. Now I'm punished appearing in this Section 194 committee to answer on the very same matter which was investigated as a collective, and I've shown through as well what the minority judgment was saying. The matter was investigated, and there's every explanation why the report was compiled as is. The matter of the CR17 campaign funds, which matter report was issued, even taken to the Constitutional Court, which felt no, out of the evidence which one was presented with, and some of it was even sealed in chambers by the Pretoria High Court, and which I relied on. So that matter as well, and the comments of the judges are said to be incompetent, or what the judges have said. And the matter of the CX, in fact, the so-called rogue unit, that matter as well was dealt with, and there as well there were personal costs, which luckily Judge Madlanga at the Constitutional Court, who read the judgment, said you are making it fashionable. You cannot always be subjecting the public protector to personal costs. Unfortunately, in the Freedom matter as well, it was taken up to the Constitutional Court, where I was also covered with personal costs. And in the very same matter where the judges in the Pretoria High Court said, I changed Madonsela's report, my predecessor, and she even testified to Section 194 committee that there was no report which I changed. And that matter was investigated by her for the past 4 years or 3 to 4 years, and there was no way in the issues which they investigated was relating to investigating the prejudice to the beneficiaries. Yes, the report was issued because we dealt with it as a backlog matter, and then we had to investigate the involvement of the politicians. By the way, there were not even any issue relating to that in the initial investigation which was conducted. I will stop there, and then we'll take questions, and I'll clarify some of the issues, if any. Thank you.
Thank you, Public Protector, for clarifying the matters that have been in the news space. Time for questions. If you can please introduce yourself and then pose your question. We'll take 5 at a time. We'll start with colleague here.
Hi, hi, Public Protector. I'm Mariska Kutse from The Citizen. And sure, I've got a million questions, but I just want to start at something that just keeps on shouting at me. Do you not fear for your life with all of this going on? And how are you coping with this? You know, it seems like you're facing big challenges. So, and also, do you feel like you're being silenced?
Okay, there was another hand here.
Yes, it's Lerato Mota from Power FM News. Public Protector, I just want to check. You indicated that your attorney of choice, Chani, still has to, familiarize themselves with the goings at the inquiry. I just want to check how much time do you still require, given that, that time where you had actually been expected to respond to those written questions has actually lapsed. And since with you.
Okay, third question. Not at the moment. Franz, anything from the virtual platform?
Yeah, I think I've got 2 online. If you give me a sec. Okay. Advocate Mkhwebane. Okay, Advocate Mkhwebane's initial response to her suspension was that it was a political ploy. She implied that because she sent President Cyril Ramaphosa questions regarding Phala and launching an investigation into it, she was targeted. What is her stance now? Does she still feel her suspension was part of the political ploy? I think that is what I have at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. No,
and that comes from Mashudu Sadike, Independent News.
Okay, response. I'll give the Public Protector an opportunity to answer those questions for now, and then we take another round.
Thank you for the questions from the citizen. The fearing for my life, whether I'm coping or the issue of being silenced. What I will say to you is that we've been under a tremendous pressure and stress as a family. When I was still in the office, just to take you back, I was, after issuing the so-called, the so-called road traffic report, there was malicious damage to the property, my property. The criminal case was opened, investigation never went anywhere. There was the threat assessment to where I was staying, the property, subs, and then I had to be moved from there because they wanted to upgrade security. I said I can't allow the so-called Nkandla issue to happen because I will then be blamed for that. So I said, no, I can't do. We had to sacrifice our space and move to a state house. So that's what the issues of protection, but then threats continued. And after my suspension, there was also a threat. We were driving with my husband, we were just going nearer to around Bronco Street, coming back. So again, we were chased by some car. We had to report to the police. We had to go to the police station in Bronco Street to be escorted back home. well, nothing was done about that. And I think indeed it's just living, well, by God's grace, we are fine, I would say that. And we are coping under the circumstances. Yes, the issue of being silenced, because unfortunately, you said your name is?
Mariska.
Mariska. You know, when unfortunately, sometimes the way media operates, throughout my term as public protector, being labeled the enemy of the state by your financial mail, and how my matters are reported, because if you say that, indeed you are exposing me to that, and when over and over the issue of me losing cases, a lot of cases, I've been showing over and over that these are the reports we've issued, only a fraction which has been set aside. But again, the courts and the judges also allowing themselves, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, to be used as a tool or to just tarnish my credibility. I mean, Mariska, if you can check, I mean, there was a stage where we even checked how many cases, for instance, in the Pretoria High Court, some of the judges lost their cases, like Abotolme, which I can even share. A number of cases they've lost, taken to the appeal court, and they've lost those cases to the constitutional court. But no one is saying those judges must be subjected to, or they are incompetent, they must be removed. And worse still, this constitutional court judgment, 3 full bench of judges of the Western Cape agreed that I was unlawfully, illegally suspended, and that was the issue of vindictiveness of the president, as well violating the constitution, because he couldn't wait for the court to pronounce on the judgment. He went ahead and suspended. Now the matter is taken to the constitutional court, the very same constitutional court which took 8 months to deliver judgment. In South Africa we say justice delayed is justice denied. And they then went ahead, even the Deputy Chief Justice clobbered me with personal costs, which were granted by the Western Cape High Court on the issue of the Section 18. For what? Where must I get that money to pay? Is that constitution meant to oppress me the way they are doing? Because they should be showing fairness. They're in apex court. They are the ones who should be making sure that our rights are protected. I'm protected as the citizen of this country, because nowhere else I would go until after they've delivered their judgment. So those judges, no one is saying they should also pay personal costs because they delivered that kind of a judgment. But Mina, I must pay. So I think it's very terrible. Indeed, I would, the legacy which it's being promoted, when you Google Busisiwe Mkhwebane, it's not, you are portrayed like that so that you build history. But then those who know proper and go through my record and what I've done, that is not the case. So the attorneys of choice, Power FM, indeed, the Constitutional Court was very clear that, and even the very same thing of going to court over and over, because some are asking, but why are you still going there? Because you are losing cases. I'm going there just to expose those judges who are not objective, and history has no blank pages, because history, children or grandchildren will still be reading about this particular issue, because there's the development of the law. So they said when the Constitutional Court delivered the judgment, because Parliament was saying, no, I mustn't have a legal representation, we had to go to court up to the level of the Constitutional Court. Then on that issue they agreed. So if I didn't pursue that issue, I wouldn't have a legal representation of my choice. Hence, I said to the Public Protector Office, complying to the Performance Management Act, because we've got a panel of attorneys. Since Sianeho is no longer proceeding with the matter, I must choose another attorney who's Chane attorneys, and indeed was briefed and China attorneys in terms of you cannot yourself, you are possibly a journalist, you present a show. Surely if you are on leave or you need to take over from somebody, you do need to be a briefing. You need to understand how to conduct the proceedings. So it's fair for China to say, let me understand the record. So now if you send those more than 1,000 questions to China, who's supposed to be my attorney, is not a post box, and you say the SC knows about the matter. But how can China should read and understand who is somewhere, one of the witnesses, who's Teboge Kekana, or what is this matter about Busasa? And Nakona, how do you allow, China would say, but how do we proceed with answering questions, PP, because you were still on the stand, you were still delivering your testimony. So, indeed, apparently, state attorney have standard operating procedures when they brief attorneys to deal with matters, where they would say to them, for you to deal with this, to peruse the record, you need possibly for 20 pages, you need what, an hour or yes, an hour for 20 pages. Now if you have so much record, those channels must understand all those records and then say to advocate Mpofu, you know, because in South Africa that's why we operate. You cannot go to an eye specialist. Well, maybe let me give that example as well. Because you need to be referred by a GP who will say, no, this one, I'm not a specialist in this matter, but then you are referred. So attorneys in a way are like that. They are general practitioners who will then refer the matter to the specialists who are SCs. So they need to familiarize themselves. And what they offered was that when Judge was saying, okay, SC knows about the matter, and you can do it the other way around. They were willing to do that, but then now we are sending questions. How do you send questions? I'm still on the stand. And then they changed the process per what the late Dina said, which now they are in a pressure that they want you no longer to come, but then to respond in writing. And how do you do that and hide things? That is the parliament of the people. And now he wants to address matters in writing. You, the members of the media, should insist on publicizing whatever is happening so that the public can judge for themselves on that. So I haven't missed any deadline. I've been saying that, and hence I'm saying it's been misleading the public. On the 9th of June when I appeared, I didn't have attorneys and the attorneys, and that was resolved. But the attorney must still brief counsel. So I don't have legal representation. I didn't miss that deadline, and I refused that unlawful changing of the directives on the 9th already. And he still proceeded, and the issue of saying I didn't choose whether oral or in writing. When on the 9th already I said I reject the proposal of responding in writing. Why send that when I don't even have a legal representation? So the communication is that he's been saying we've missed deadline. He's following that time frame which he said he's having. So now we've finally submitted the recusal application. So he's saying he'll be considering it and tell us by the 21st whether it will be considered in writing or, well, written consideration, so which we also don't agree to, because you cannot do that. In the past, we went with the team. We argued the matter there, so I think it's not fair. Political ploy, targeting, indeed, that's what I said, and I wrote in my Twitter page that I think the judgment should now be taken to law students for them to learn about this, because it's a case study. One justice delayed, justice denied. And now the purpose has been served. It means I was taken out of the office so that the Phala investigation can be done. And it was very clear. It was not hidden, because that's what, when I was reading their papers, they were saying, if I am returned back to the office, or they allow me to go back to the office, the best way then the Concord can consider is to allow the Deputy President to possibly consider and suspend, because they were aware of this conflict in a way. Secondly, they were saying, if I go back to the office, I mustn't touch the Phala investigation. I mean, it's there. History has recorded it. They will know, and they know themselves. So, and unfortunately, the Constitutional Court then, yes, their judgment is based on the submissions of the DA and the President. Indeed, this post, I'm operating in the political space. This, you wouldn't be a lawyer and any person who's operating in this kind of an office and think that my work is not having a direct influence of politics. And I think people who wouldn't want to be held to account. And this institution is there to support constitutional democracy. I don't know how many times I've said it, that learn from what we've done as an office and improve for the future. But unfortunately, the courts as well, in a way, sometimes they join and they just issue these judgments which have an impact on the future of the jurisprudence of the country.
Thanks, Public Protector. Round two, any takers? Once.
Thank you so much. Francis Luamachata from Progressive Independent News Agency. I think my question is just about, now that your term is ending, where to from here? Any future plans? Thank you.
The colleague from Power FM, right? Yes.
Yes, PP, the chairperson at Section 194 inquiry had actually indicated that failure
Future plans. There's a number of plans which are which I'm considering. My term is ending on the 14th of October. Was the new public protector must start on the 15th of October 2023. So I'm still the public protector of the country. And November, I think I'll be, in fact, from the 16th of October, I'll be the free agent. Apparently in soccer, they say players are free agent. So I'm still weighing my options where I'm going to be going. But for sure, I'll be serving the public wherever I will be. And I will be checking which space to occupy. Which will continue the fight for the liberation of those who are oppressed, and for us as a country to make sure that we succeed. So there are a number of options which are on the table. You might not know, maybe I might come back as an independent candidate for being a president of the country. So you don't know, you'll be surprised, but just wait and see. Power FM failure to do this. Indeed, the chairperson is just hell-bent in just proceeding with this unlawful process with impunity, and the impunity which is perpetuated again by the kind of judgments which I'm subjected to. So he thinks, and as I said, the Western Cape High Court, those three judges said, no, just stay on, you'll bring the review at the end. Surely he can proceed as he would want to, but the fact of the matter is I don't have legal representation, and I don't know then which court But anyway, they've done very strange things. Maybe they will still say, no, you, Mkhwebane, you don't have rights. You are fine the way they dealt with you. And I've been saying, if they deal with me like this, with impunity, what about you? When you face such challenges in a country where we have the judges who should be making sure that there is justice in the country. So how can he proceed? We are saying he must recuse himself. How do I appear before a person who's facing bribery and corruption charges and maybe even murder charges, if it will depend on the outcome of the inquest? So that will be challenged. Going back to the very same court, and I said not all judges, some of the judges. Some are still very much sober and objective, but if the matter is dealt with the way it's dealt with, we'll still take it back to court and challenge it. So we'll wait on the 21st to hear whether he's hearing our application or is just dismissing it in writing. But again, it's up to you, the media, who are there standing for the public, to demand that the hearings or that application be heard in public so that people can also hear for themselves. So the issue of giving up, I would have given up a long time ago. My issue is, I think even in the recordings, the late Tina Jumat Peterson was saying that maybe resign. In fact, these people might kill her, or this thing of impeachment might kill her. And my husband responded that he's been saying maybe if I can resign or consider doing something else. I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm in this. I'm doing it also for you, Mariske, as a woman, because you need to stand for your rights. And I wanted to tell my story because I'm being blamed due to I'm incompetent. And I'm telling you, South Africans, how I investigated the CR17, how I investigated the so-called rogue unit, and what the judges said in those two matters, which are not true. And I was still going to testify about the FRIED investigation and the CX investigation, so that I tell my side of the story. So I can't give up. I don't want to give up. I want to tell my side of the story, and then they can do whatever they do. But it's clear that they've concluded, because that's what Tina also said, that no, the outcome is predetermined. They want to impeach me. And even the Secretary General of the ANC, I think is now referring to me as a former public protector. So it means the ANC, as the majority party, have concluded that they would want to impeach me. But I think let them relax. Let's deal with the process. Let me finish my testimony fairly so that at the end of the day, we can deal with this matter. So I think possibly, Kennedy, we can just, I don't know if there are any questions for my husband so that we can clarify the issues which it's always been there of what has been said about the hearings.
Any questions in that regard?
I'll ask the questions, guys. Hi, David. I want to know from you, how difficult has this road been for you, standing next to your wife, going through all of these things? I'm sure you've also had your moments where you felt like you wanted to give up.
Okay. More questions? Virtual, anything, friends? Any questions that side?
No.
Yes.
Ahmed Muloi from NMA. I just want to know if you played any part in the driver, meaning that maybe you might have paid her some of, okay, you said you played along with the thing so that you can get the recordings. What process did you follow in terms of getting the process, the evidence? I don't know if my question is phrased right, but then I hope you get my point.
Yeah. said your name?
Mariska.
Mariska from the Citizen. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to the members of the media. In fact, I was still waiting to hear from the legal team of the PP. Unfortunately, as she said, that there's still an issue about legal representation. But the fact of the matter is that whatever happened to Tina, I must say a godsender, I must say. She was a godsender. And, but I want to make a remark before I start, about the issue of Tina Jumate Peterson. And may her soul rest in peace. It's disturbing, to hear the Secretary General of the African National Congress attacking Advocate Mkhwebane. It's too personal now. And I just want to make a remark, Kennedy, about that. Before I respond to Mariski and the gentleman from NMB, you said you're from NMB, yes. And I want to blame precisely Tony Yengeni, Comrade Tony Yengeni. He has done his service to the nation. I think he must reconsider taking Twile Mbalula back to the mountain. In fact, every 3 years, if he can do that, that would be proper, because that man does not have manners. He goes on ranking. He went to the ANC press conference in the Western Cape saying, Sidlanga Mapai. Let me tell you, we are not eating with any pipes. We are eating with our mouth. And I can tell you, if you want to make it personal, you must come to me and leave the advocate alone. Because for me, I'm saying, with all your politics, in fact, we are still wet behind your ears. With all the politics and people clapping hands when you are making jokes or you are like a clown to me. To me, you are nothing. You are lunatic. You are a moron. And if you don't stop doing that, there's always consequences in everything. You can praise Advocate Tuli Madonsela, I don't care about that. Or your newly appointed public protector, Advocate Kalega. No problem with that. You can go ahead. Because single-handedly, that's what we have done. And in fact, those members of the Section 194 committee, in that committee in Parliament, you've already took a decision. In fact, you instructed them that they must deal with the public protector from your office. So be it. You even recently you spoke about Mkhwebane is holding to a pension. You can take it if you want to. If you want that pension, take it. So I want to say to you, Comrade Tony, please help me. And if he wants to come to the initiation school in Gwandebele, I'll facilitate that for him. Because that man lacks a menace. For him to go in all the ANC conferences talking about the public protector is disgusting. If you don't have time with your job in your office, stop talking about Advocate Mkhwebane. I'm saying that boldly. Because I'm not scared of Fifth Mbalula. He's nothing to me. He's ranking, making noise, and people are clapping hands. Recently he was calling some of the comrades of Malambani. He must go and answer for Botswana issue. There's a lot of issue. He's got a lot on his plate. And I'm saying I'm sending this warning direct to him because I'm not scared of him. Okay, let's come to the issue of us being. This thing has affected our family big time, I must say, Mariski. And as I said earlier, that the issue that Tina Jumate was part of that Section 194 committee. For me, the issue was supposed to end there. It was supposed to end there. How do a member of the core committee approach somebody's husband and ask for a bribe that some members within their core committee, precisely named to the chairperson, Richard Janji and the chief whip of the African National Congress in Parliament, Penny Macho. It's not me who has mentioned them. He implicated them herself. And he was saying to me, I feel pity for your wife. That these people are so evil. He even mentioned the name of the president. And said that a project manager who has been appointed to deal with the public protector. Because this matter has been going on for a very long time and they are impatient. And Janji, because he wants to be a chairperson of the Western Cape High Court, is on record. And indeed, I was not supposed to be seen doing that, because otherwise you wouldn't have said all these things she was telling me. And remember, there's noise. I understand in those recordings, there's noise because we're at a restaurant which was proposed by her. There's so many venues which she wanted to meet me. There was a center where we were supposed to meet. It was changed. It was changed to a Beachwood Hotel where there was the Hutla of the African National Congress. And she told me clearly that these two are there. And I asked her to say, I don't mind meeting one of them. In fact, I wanted to meet Richard Janji myself. And unfortunately, there was this postponement, they are still in a meeting. Okay, let's meet in Pretoria at the Capital Hotel. Let's meet then somewhere in Cape Town, but bring the money because these people have put conditions. But now they want to, by hook or crook, go ahead to impeach the public protector. And this issue of that section 194 is a public matter. All tribunals and inquiries have to be public. But because they are hell-bent with their newly found lovers, the DA, guys who in fact initiated this motion of the public protector being tested, whether it's fit to hold office. But I can tell you now, Mariski, that it's unfortunate that the SG of the ANC has instructed those members to deal with the public protector. So this, for me, it's just a kangaroo court now. Because those people cannot be independent. Their boss said they must deal with the public protector. 4 times in the ANC gatherings. I don't know why is he involved in the public protector in the ANC matters. But coming to the enemy, I'm saying from where I'm sitting, they've decided. Wrong. If I was supposed to be in Parliament, the first thing I would suggest is to change completely the system, the judicial system, overhaul it completely. Because what we have today, I'm saying to you, those people there, they've taken a decision. They are going to deal with anybody who's against the establishment. And they're not elected. The judges are not elected by the society. But today, the so-called the best constitution in the world, which is fallacy, people are still suffering outside. Some members of the media, and in particular, I've got reservation with NCA, my thousand apology. In fact, I should not apologize. Because what they are preaching there, what they are spreading there, when you talk about Mkhwebane, you're talking about an enemy number one. All the media have these recordings. Not even once those recordings were played. They are talking about a hearsay. I'm the witness. I was sitting with Tina Jutumade. I'm the witness. I'm not saying somebody, I heard somebody saying other things. I was sitting with her. But people are speaking over me. No, we have to. The police have this thing. And you know that it's going to take years. At the same time, the public protector must subject herself to such people. One member of Section 1, you don't need 10 of them. If there was law in this country, the same people were accusing the public protector to say, yeah, but why was the press conference? In the same day, Tina Jumate passed on, I think, on Monday. On Tuesday, they only observed a moment of silence. They went on, and the public protector was not even there. He was complaining to say why the public protector is insensitive. His own members, his own party, was not even sensitive to wait for Tina Jumate to be buried. And the media is quiet about that. But I'm saying every dog has its day. All these people won't be in those offices for forever. You can kill us, but you're not going to finish us. Today I have to be guarded because there's death threats. But what I'm saying, we will survive all those death threats. My last parting shot, I'll contextualize by saying those who are closer to the SG of the ANC, they must tell them to go to the next leg. Thank you.
Any final questions? New mentors, follow up? None.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say that I was playing along my brother because I didn't want her to know that I'm recording. Because if she knew that I'm recording, she would have stopped there and there. So today, I will only have WhatsApp, not a backup of recordings. You can imagine people want to dispute recordings. A recording, they want to dispute the voice of Tina Jumate. Besides the phone, because a phone, the police has verified that. The section 205 is verified. So I'm saying to you, it was me. I didn't want to make it clear to her that I was recording. But I'm saying, let her soul repose peacefully. But she was a godsender. And I must say that I think those who knows politics and those people who are still sober, they are not going to spit in their grave. But most of these people will spit on their grave. Thank you.
No more questions, right? Rachel, anything? Public protector, any closing remarks from you?
Okay, thank you so much, Kennedy and Sello. Thank you so much to all the members of the media who were here and those in the online platform. Unfortunately, we shared the link late because there were people who wanted to just listen from the other forums or other platforms who don't have possibly TV or other radio networks. But then what I would say is that I will be able to, or I am going to be fighting until the end, so that the system which is said to be free, or the system which is said to be kind of allowing the public to be free from oppression, is totally dismantled. So indeed, as my husband is saying, that the ANC has finally, or has concluded through their Secretary General to remove me. And unfortunately, the first time in the history of the ANC where the ANC is in bed with the opposition, the DA, because this is a motion of the DA and they are running with it. And they are just hell-bent in removing a constitutional institution head through other means. And My only sin is just to investigate the most powerful capitalist, the executive, and now I'm also fighting the very same members of the legislature and the speaker who are supposed to be protecting this institution. But I think we will hear how the issue of the 21st by the chairperson of the committee would unfold. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Sasana. And thank you to everyone for attending. Friends, please thank you for your organizing all of this, as well as your virtual audience and participants. And this brings us to the end, exactly just before 12:30 as scheduled. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, we will be having another media briefing next week on the 25th with the Water Research Commission on the results of the Hamaskral water crisis. So the scientists have got the results now. They will want to release them. So we'll be having a media briefing on the 25th next week. Thank you.
Thank you.